Okay, well, it is 11:09, so it's just about time to go to sleep, I guess. Um yeah. Anyway, I guess one of the things that I've noticed, and probably there are people listening who will notice this too, is there's a lot of smoke and mirrors these days. There's a lot of distraction. There's a lot of look over there, where they're doing something over here. And who I'm talking about when I say, well, they're doing something over here, is those people who run the show, those people who are government, and excuse me, and big corporations and so on. Those are the people I'm talking about. Um, I say people like Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab and all them and all the puppets under them, including the government puppets, which we have lots of, and in the Canadian government we have lots of them. Um, but anyway, the thing is, what it puts me in mind of is a medieval puppet show. And just bear with me here, I'm going somewhere with this. I know it sounds like a funny analogy. But if you know a little bit about history, then you'll recognize what I'm going to talk about now. Back in medieval times, of course, people didn't have a lot of entertainment. And what entertainment you had was live. You'd have musicians that would play music, you'd have people that would act in plays and whatnot. And of course, those were more for the upper class people, though. You know, going to concerts or going to plays or whatever. If you were a peasant, really, chances are you weren't going to do that. Now, I mean, the peasants did go to some plays and stuff, like there were stories about people throwing rotten fruit, whatnot. If they didn't like the play, they'd throw rotten fruit at the actors and stuff. And that was the peasantry that would do that. I'm guessing the rotten fruit was being thrown from the cheap seats or whatever. But basically, um, most of what the peasants would see would be street theater. To be what we would call busker today. Somebody who's out there playing an instrument or, putting on a performance, or whatever. That's what it would be. And there was quite a bit of that in the Middle Ages. And one thing that used to happen is sometimes, like in the market or whatever, when on a busy market day, a puppet show would pop up. It'd just be one of those things. A puppet show would start, and of course, everybody'd stop and watch the puppet show. And I mean, it was quite a thing. It was quite entertaining for the people. And the people would gather around there, and the puppet masters would go through their little play or whatever, with their puppets. And it was impressive and it was entertaining, and that really the people enjoyed it. But see, what used to happen is, while the people were enjoying the puppet show, the pickpockets were busy, you know, and the pickpockets would go through the crowd, and while everybody was focused on the performance and having a good time watching the puppets and so on, and you know, paying attention to the story and so on, being entertained, being distracted. That's really what was happening. They were being distracted. The pickpockets would go along and they'd clean you out. They'd just go for the crowd and they'd lift your valuables, off you. And they were good at it. You know, they could take your wallet or your watch or whatever else you had, and you'd have no idea, especially when you were focused on what was happening with this performance, you know. And see, so the pickpockets would take advantage of the people being distracted to rob the people. Um, I'm not sure if the puppet shows were ever in cahoots with the pickpockets. They may have been. I don't know if the pickpockets gave the puppeteers a percentage of what they stole, or I don't know, or it may just be that the pickpockets saw an opportunity. The puppeteers may have had nothing to do with the theft, but the pickpockets may have just seen an opportunity, you know, because people who have bad intentions tend to be opportunists. So really, I don't know. I'm not. I can't tell you. I don't know. I'm not here to. I'm not here to tell anybody anything as far as that goes. I don't know. I'm not accusing the puppeteers of being in cahoots with the pickpockets, but they may have been. I don't know. But the bottom line is, whether they were in cahoots with the pickpockets or not, we can see the phenomena. We can see how the pickpockets took advantage of the fact that the people were distracted. And you see that this is the thing. Now we have governments who are masters of this distraction type stuff, you know, and so they'll put things out there in front of us. Right now, they're throwing everything at us. We got drones, we got aliens, we got you know possible diseases. You know, there's going to be another pandemic. There's going to be this. There's going to be that. The aliens are coming. We're going to be invaded by them. There's weird drones flying around everywhere. We don't know where they came from. We don't know what's going on. You know, this is what you get. And it's like they know damn well where those things came from, and they can shoot them down. They claim they can't, but they can, because an aircraft is in your airspace, you can shoot it down. That's how it works. So the bottom line is this, though: it's all distraction, or at least most of it is. And the fact that they're throwing so many distractions at us, you know, the drones don't worry me, because I think the drones are a distraction. What worries me is, what are the drones here to distract me from? Like, if I'm meant to be paying attention to the drones, if that's the idea, that I'm going to pay attention to the drones and be distracted while something else happens, it's that something else that I'm concerned about. You know? So I'm not concerned about the dog and pony show over there. I'm concerned about what's happening over here that I meant not to see while I'm watching the dog and pony show. And that's the bottom line anyway. It's practically everything we're seeing now that's out there and being publicized on mainstream media is a distraction. Most of it means nothing. These drones, chances are nothing's going to come of that. We'll hear about it for a while, and then they'll disappear, and we'll never hear about them again, and people will gradually forget, because people have a very short attention span these days. And maybe every so often somebody will say, hey, I wonder whatever happened with the drones. Well, who knows? They're gone now. Let's move on. That's what it'll be. But like I say, it's not the distraction that I'm concerned about. It's the reason for the distraction. You know, nobody was hurt by the puppet show, but lots of people lost their valuables while the puppet show went on, where they were focused on that, because it was the pickpockets that did the damage. And the pickpockets went unnoticed because the people were focused on the puppet show. And That's what we're seeing now. We're seeing a lot of people obsessing over all this weird stuff. I mean, have you ever noticed that this weird stuff happens and we never really get any answers as to why it's happening or what it is or why it is or anything else? What about the situation down in South America there, where those characters were hovering with weird shoes and coming into villages and attacking people and stuff coming out of the jungle? That was a big thing a year or so ago. We never hear about it anymore. We've never been given any plausible explanation as to why that happened or what that was or anything. And then there were a few, even in the United States, there were some incidents where characters like that appeared and so on. And, you know, these floating things with their weird shoes and stuff. And nobody now, I mean, who knows? Like, nobody seems to know what became of that, why that was happening, but all of a sudden it stopped. Or at least if it didn't stop, we're not hearing about it anymore. Maybe it's still going on. I don't know. But we're not hearing about it anymore if it is. You see, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all distractions. Look over here while we're doing something over here. You know, look this way while we're doing something this way. That's what it is. And so if you're seeing it all over the news, like with the drones and stuff now, chances are what you're seeing is not the real story. That's all. You know, what you're seeing is a distraction. What you're seeing is designed to make you look one way while something is happening in the opposite direction. That's what we're getting, and they're throwing a lot of that crap at us. It seems to constantly be something else. And so, yeah, I mean, they're doing it for a reason, though. They're keeping us perpetually stressed out. They're keeping us perpetually worried about things we can do nothing about. They're keeping us perpetually concerned with things that are really just street theater. That's what a lot of it is. And in the meantime, the real threat is working its way through the crowd, lifting everybody's wallets. You know, it's not the puppet show you need to be worried about. Although right now in government there are a lot of puppets. You could put some of those politicians on strings and march them around, you know, because they're puppets. Anyway, that's it. I think this is good night. So good night, everybody. And Rocky and I will see you in the morning. Hopefully with no drones. Apparently the drones are in Canada now. So maybe we'll see them here at Camp Crazy yet. Like I say, if I do see them, I'm not going to be too worried about them. Because they're not the real threat. They're just a distraction. All right. Good night.